Hi guys, I am here with Brittany Heller from Grid Alternatives. We're also joined by Juan, who is a student who graduated from Westy last year and is currently working with Grid Alternatives. We're really excited to tell you a little bit about their organization. So Brittany, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about the positions that you offer.
Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen, but my name is Brittany Heller. I'm the Workforce and Community Engagement Manager at Grid. I'll talk just really quickly about a couple of our programs, and then I'll hand it over to Juan to also answer some questions about what is it really like to work here from somebody who is fresh out of Westminster Public Schools. Can you guys see my slides? Awesome. Cool. So I'm just going to briefly run through this. So Grid Alternatives is a solar nonprofit, and we're based in the Montbello neighborhood of Denver. And our whole vision is that a successful transition to clean energy has to include everybody or it's not going to happen. So all of the solar that we install is for people who are qualified as low income. That's where Juan is right now on somebody's house, installing a free system for them. So solar install is a huge piece of what we do. And you might be wondering, like, solar install, like, is there a lot of those jobs out there? And one thing that's really exciting about this industry is that we're seeing it grow and grow and grow. And with all of the renewable energy goals that we have here in Colorado, we expect that we're going to see these jobs get even more popular and have even more of these jobs. And this is just nationwide solar jobs for about the last 10 years. You can see they've mostly gone up. And most of these jobs are going to be in solar installation. So that's actually getting out there and building the projects, getting on the roof, and just, starting with nothing on the roof and then have a whole system that runs by the end of the day. So that's a really great entry point into the industry. And I'd really recommend anybody who wants to do any job in solar, start installing just so that, you have that skill set and that knowledge to maybe project manage or be a designer later. And in Colorado right now, and this is actually even about 2 years ago, there was over 7,000 solar jobs in the state. So that's a bunch. And so what I want to talk to you in particular is we do a lot of different workforce development programs. And so these are just training programs where you can actually get out there and try solar install and learn all the skills. Here's just a couple photos from some of our training classes. We've got this really cool mock roof outside where people get to practice before going on the job site. We've got a warehouse training lab, we call it. This is actually a DPS school that we had some trainees building on a couple of months ago. There's another shot of our mock roof with some employers who are there watching trainees in action and landing some job interviews at the same time on their final day of class. So I just want to talk to you guys about a couple opportunities where you guys can come and do a paid training with Grid. Notice that I said paid training. So all of our programs are paid. The first one, and Juan will speak in just a little bit about his experience as a solar core. This is a 13-month fellowship. And we do this in partnership with AmeriCorps. And this is basically like going to solar school for 13 months. But you do get paid to be here. So our solar core get a ton of leadership development, professional development, and get a ton of different experience as well. We also have a program called Installation Basics Training. Sorry. Okay. I would have muted it, but I don't know where the mute button is right now. Sorry, y'all. So we also have another program called Installation Basics Training. This is 5 weeks. So it's a shorter term program. In those 5 weeks, trainees get paid $3,000 as long as they keep, meeting the attendance requirements and pass all of the exams and checkpoints within the class. They'll get their CPR first aid, their OSHA 10 certification. And right now, our next cohort is scheduled to begin on June 1st. So that's a great way where you can come learn with us for 5 weeks, and then we can help you get a job in the industry afterward. We also have a really cool Women in Solar initiative, where when we could have events, we would have 100 women come together and install a system. And that's a really fun time. We also do internships. So there's extended employment opportunities with Grid that are paid. And then also looking beyond, if you guys do go into college and are interested in still learning about solar, then we have an annual Solar Spark conference. And this is a virtual conference about solar and equity for college students. And so that happens in the spring. So that's all I got for the slides. I'll see if you have any questions that maybe Juan can answer.
Awesome. So Juan, can you tell me a little bit, you're part of Solar Core, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what your day-to-day job looks like?
So for the program for Solar Corp, it's like we have a Zoom meeting like once a month where all the Solar Corps from different like states, we know more about each other, and then we have some tasks that we do, and like sometimes we do site visits, sometimes we do projects or any maintenance that the systems need. So yeah, it's every day different things to do. Yeah.
Is it a full-time or a part-time position?
It's a full-time. We usually start from 8 to 4. Yeah.
What would you encourage students who are looking at going into the solar industry? What kind of things do they need to know going in? What kind of tips would you give them?
Some tips that I think some good tips will be like to explain like the experience that they have. For example, I was gonna join for the IBT program, the 5 weeks, but actually Brittany is the one that was like, no, he might be a better Solar Corp. So that's how I become a Solar Corp, because I explained them my experience and everything, so they like me.
You did the construction class here, or did you do the ag program? Remind me.
Where?
At Westy, because you had experience, correct, from Westy, right?
Oh yeah. It was actually when Mr. Nager, he had a electricity class, so that's where I learned how the basic about electricity, how it's constructed, created, and how it's transferred and distributed. So yeah.
Awesome. And that was helpful in like going into this industry. That was a good preparation.
Yeah, it was a good experience because I didn't know anything about electricity, so that class helped me a lot.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that. So talking about the requirements for the apprenticeship, do students need to have graduated from high school to enroll? Do they need to be 17, 18?
I can answer that one. So to do our training programs and just to be on a rooftop at Grid, we need folks to be 18 years old, at least. And then we do, for our training programs, require either a GED or a high school diploma.
Can we talk a little bit about the salary range for students who are just starting with either the IS, or you mentioned the $3,000 IST program. Can you talk about the 13-month, what that salary range looks like for students?
Yeah, I can hop in too. And because it's AmeriCorps, they're paid a stipend. So it's almost like having a salaried job. So even if Juan took a week-long vacation, he'd still get the same paycheck twice a month. And I know it tends to go up incrementally, but I think, and it's a little hard to kind of compute it to an hourly wage, because it's doesn't quite work that way, but I think it's about the equivalent of like $16.80 an hour if you were to look at like the total hours required versus the total stipend amount. And then in addition, because it's an AmeriCorps fellowship, once people complete their allotted hours, which I believe is 1,700 hours in 11 months, then they also unlock a education award. I believe that's $6,400 or so. Juan, do you know how much your education award will be?
Yeah, it's $6,000.
That's great. And can you use that for any school or program that you're interested in, or any kind of apprenticeship training, or you can just kind of use it any educational program? Is that?
I believe it's any Title IX school, I want to say. I hope I'm getting that right. But it is called it's the Siegel Award, SEGEL, the AmeriCorps Siegel Education Award. So you could definitely look it up. And if anybody's interested in applying, I can definitely get them the most updated information, since it can change a little bit year over year. But yeah, you can use it to pay off student loans if you had them, or you can use it in the future for future education.
Awesome. So I know you mentioned that the next upcoming IST starts on June 1st. How often do you run that program?
We will typically be trying to run them about 5 times a year. So that's, maybe there's like 2 or every, once one ends, there might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the next one. And then we typically don't run them in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, just because that's kind of a tough time.
And for the IST the Solar Core program, is there a specific start date that students would need to start by, or can they start anytime?
That's a really good question. So we hire Solar Core in cohorts. Juan was mentioning like being on all these calls with his fellow Solar Core across the country. And so we start posting those positions, I want to say in June, sometime in the month of June. And then they'll start at the end of August. So if anyone's interested, they should get in their applications right away and just make sure they're checking their emails to get an interview set up.
This question I like to ask Juan actually specifically. So if a student is thinking about a couple different maybe construction or trade jobs, even apprenticeships, why should they choose Grid Alternatives specifically?
Okay. Well, I think it's more because like they say, like most of the programs are like free. For example, they provide us the OSHA 10, I forgot the other one. But yeah, and also because of the benefits, and because like Brent say, when you finish the Solar Core program and you complete your whole hours, you get a reward that you can use it later for school. So I think that's some good benefits that are good for.
All right, and then for students that are interested, what is the application process?
I can take that one too. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit different between Solar Core and IBT, but really the first step in both of them is completing an application on our website. So once the Solar Core positions are open, they'll be listed under current openings, like a job. And then the training is always, you can submit applications on a rolling basis, and that's just under the training section of the Grid Colorado website. And then so once they apply online, just making sure that you're checking your email, checking your voicemail, and if somebody calls you to set up an interview, make sure you call them back, because that kind of making sure you're responsive and excited is how we make sure we get the right people in the class. We heard from Juan not too shortly after this hiring fair, and that's always a good sign when somebody is like, I'm excited, I like this, I want to do it. So if you're excited by this, let us know, and then also communicate.
Awesome. All right, so those are all the questions that I have. Is there anything else either of you would like to add for students who might be watching?
Apply, it's really awesome. Being a solar installer is super fun. I've done it. Juan's doing it now. A lot of our staff has been installers at one point. It's just so exciting and so fun. And so I definitely highly recommend checking it out.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys both so much. Appreciate your time.